Welcome to The Art Box, your podcast dedicated to exploring the vibrant art scene in Nevada and beyond. Join us as we embark on a journey through galleries, theaters, studios, public lands, and streetscapes, meeting the artists, curators, archaeologists, nature lovers, and cultural influencers who shape our creative community and our world. Whether you're looking for your next cultural adventure, seeking inspiration for your own artistic pursuits, or simply curious about the world of art, tune into The Art Box. Together, let's open up a world of creativity and imagination. Let's dive in.
Dreams, what if the night is about you and me? So lift your head up to the sky.
Sandy, how are you today?
I'm wonderful, Steve. How are you?
Great. I like the article on you in the paper.
I like the article on you in the paper.
It was nice. You and MJ got some print.
Yes.
So it's great. And with us today is Terri Fitzsimmons.
Hello
Welcome, Terri.
there. Oh, thank you. It's such a treat to be here among you. And I love reading about you in the newspaper. All of us were in the newspaper this week. So, yes, it was wonderful.
Okay, so you were the author of five books? Is that correct?
I think about close to seven
6,
now.
7? Okay. And I understand your first 2 books, Phoenix Rising from the Ashes and Smoldering Embers of Paradise, came about because your therapist encouraged publication of your journals after you went through the fire. I'm sorry, I don't remember what year it was. What, 2018?
Yes,
Yeah.
very good. November, yes.
After you went through the fire because she thought that they would help others. As a writer, I know that publishing your first book is always both an exhilarating and terrifying experience for many, many reasons. And it must be more so when you're sharing your private, personal thoughts like that with the world. What was that journey like for you?
All my life, I've been plagued with insecurity. As a child, I stuttered. And just believing in my book, Untie the Knot and Cannot, showing about what socialization does to us. Just so insecure about putting my words down on paper. But my journals were my best friend because if I talked to people, I was always afraid of their reactions. After the fire, I couldn't discuss anything with my partner. He completely shut down and went into a state of anger. It was his method of coping. And I was left on my own with people I didn't even know. So, like I say, my journal became my best friend. And even sharing it with my therapist was frightening. I tell you, Sandy, I could not believe the sound of his voice when he held up my journal and said, "This has to be in print. What you have written will touch so many other victims." And it was just those first words of encouragement that I looked for all my life that I said, okay, I'll do this.
In your, let's see, I've Got Class, and you actually have a workbook also called You've Got Class. So turning to your experiences in higher education, you say that your life as a sociologist began with a research project. So was that the moment when you decided to write this book, or did the sense of accomplishment that you'd experienced once you'd achieved your goals encourage you to share your experiences with others in this case?
The actual impetus of writing the book was I was substituting right up until COVID, and I was working in special education and seeing how different the education system was than when I was going through, when I was teaching years ago. All the negative aspects about education now, that I wanted to go through and have the memoirs of exhilarating experiences about teaching and how going back to college helps a person with their self-esteem and grow. I just began writing about my experiences with going back to college at the age of 40. Can you believe that? I never even drove a car up until then. The research project that I did was all about people like me going back to school at the age of 40 and what it did for them. You know, it's interesting that you point that out. Now that I think about it, that was a major theme in that book with that of overcoming our fears.
I did get to read part of that one. I was enjoying that one. Now, okay, this is near and dear to my heart. You've written 2 historical fiction novels as well. I was only able to find one of them, Best Friends. What's the name of the other book?
Redemption for Gertrude.
So what inspired these stories?
Oh my gosh, I belonged to a writer's group. I had to have something written for the next week, and I called the leader of the group and I said, help. I need something to spur me on. And he sent me I don't know why, but all these pictures of the Roaring 20s. And Sandy, there was 2 there was one picture of these two, the most gorgeous flapper girls on this old treadmill. You know, they had the baby Ruth, is that what you call the saddle shoes, and they were on this treadmill. Oh, there could be a story. So I started writing about an old lady and how she found this old wrinkled photograph that fell out, and the picture was of her best friend and herself. So I was writing, and everybody in the group said, oh, we want more. So I started writing more, and I'm a sociologist plus a historian. So I took these two ladies through the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s through television, movies, music, civil rights, Eleanor Roosevelt, who I love. Put these two ladies in all these different experiences and told the story that one lived on the East Coast and one lived on the West Coast. And the whole book was about their letters to each other, and it took us through all decades of the First World War, women working in the factories, and and all the child abduction that went on with Georgia Tann, Joan Crawford, buying stolen children. It was really, I look for all the little tidbits throughout history.
I want to read that one.
What a great idea.
That is a wonderful idea.
And just off of that one picture.
Yes.
And you also just touched on another one of my big points that I always like to make: the importance of a really good writers group. That is a very they encourage you. Their criticism is usually informed because they're coming from a writing perspective as well. And it's just, I highly encourage everyone, if you want to be a writer, to find a writers group.
Oh, and please join our
Absolutely.
writers group.
Oh yes, especially here in
with
Mesquite.
Summer and
Yeah.
myself, and with Craig.
Oh, I would love to.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
We'll be at the Women's Center on the second Wednesday. We'll be on the 13th of the month. Please join us.
And what time is that?
It'll be at 11 o'clock
11 o'clock. Okay.
in the tea room.
I'm writing that down.
Another fellow writer. Oh, thank you.
Tell me about Untie the Knot and Cannot. What inspiration and experiences led to that?
I used fictional characters, but they were all me because I had multiple personalities growing up.
We all do.
Trying to fit in. Authoritative father. Teachers, if you didn't fit into the mold, you weren't good enough in all subjects. And so I started to examine how our institutions, what they do to a child to believe they can't do anything. In all my years of counseling and teaching, especially teenagers, when they're so vulnerable. But Miss Fitz, I can't do this. I can't do that. And it became our favorite word. There was a story that I read. I'm very much into spirituality, and it was about a village which was going to be attacked. This is a true story, by the way. And they had a huge statue made out of gold of Buddha, and they didn't want it to be taken, so they covered it with mud. And then the whole thing dried up, and the invaders came in, and of course it wasn't taken away. And it was forgotten about it till years later. And finally somebody scraped it away and found the golden Buddha. And that is my analogy for counseling people, is let's tear away at all the mud. Let's tear away at all the negative socialization and get at the golden Buddha that's in all of us. And that's what I was hoping for in that book. Let's untie that, to believe that I can't do this. Yes, I can do this. And we need to instill that in all of our youth.
You make a very good point. That based on my own personal experiences as a child, moving from the South to the Midwest and trying to fit in at a new school in like fourth grade is when we moved. It's interesting that teachers tend to judge you on who they perceive you to be, what they perceive you are, rather than who you are.
Oh, that's profound. Oh, yes, Sandy, you got it. Yes.
And you know, I mean, granted, I understand that classroom size is much larger now than perhaps when we were young, but I think it's important for teachers to take time to try at least to get to know their students, who they are, where they're coming from. And I think that those who do are the most successful at teaching them.
Yes.
So. Okay, something else that you said, I believe you said this in your guest survey, that the overlying theme of writing is helping women. And you said something that really struck a chord with me. You said, do not let your words die with you. And I am in complete agreement with that. We all have a story to tell. And there's so many stories from my family that I wish I'd taken the time to write down at the time. That you don't think about things like that when you're a kid, but I would love to read those stories now and relive them. What other advice do you have for aspiring writers? What would you tell them?
I know it sounds so trite, but it's that never, ever giving up. And again, you just answered your own question, Sandi. You did. It's the idea that we all have a story to tell. And I know I seem harsh with this statement, but I've had women that come up, and I'm always inquisitive. I feel like as a sociologist, I'm a peeping Tom on society. Tell me your story, or what did you mean by that? And going around asking questions. And I tried to pull out people's stories that they have. And they tell me their stories. They're uninhibited. They're not being judged. They're just sharing. And then when I talk to them about writing their story, oh, no. And I'm going, how can you be so selfish? And they look at me. I say, no. You've got something to share. We need to hear your words. We all can be teaching each other with our words. So I'm lucky enough to be a reporter for the newspaper. And what I'm trying to do is be this man about town, finding women and hearing about their stories, and then writing about them and putting them into the Women's Museum. Because I want their stories to be told, and that you pulled out.
Very important.
Don't let your story to die. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Well, and it plays into another quote from your guest survey about how, let's see, what was the quote? It was, I start writing and then put them on the back burner. It is only when I have deadlines that I'm able to complete a project in a timely manner. Okay, so this is a writing craft question. This is a very similar thing to what I tell people when they ask me, how do you write a novel? And I always say, you don't have to sit down and start on page 1 and go all the way through to the end. You write the scenes, you write what occurs to you, when it occurs to you, and you'll find a way to fit it in later. And this seems to be something a lot of people struggle with. They have that mindset that you have to do it in a certain order or a certain way. What advice would you give to writers who may lack that structure, that deadline, that forces them to complete their work to help them achieve their goals? How would you tell them to keep going, motivated?
It's just that old saying, when the dust settles, it'll come to you. When you put it aside. And I know that I'm finding more and more in my old age here is actually the word surrender has been my salvation with my writing. For instance, my essay on Leap of Faith, I left it. It just didn't sound right until I was Googling, and then they had an article on the most famous line in Titanic. And then, okay, out of curiosity, I read it, and I went, oh my gosh. That's my ending, to my stories. So if you just put something aside, it's like doing a crossword puzzle. You can't find the word, you put it aside, and it'll come to you at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. It's just, when we try to force things, there's something in our brain does not compute. It's when the dust settles, our inspiration comes in. And you have to be able to have that. It's the trust that you will get it and not get frustrated with it. Okay,
so you have a new book coming out August 5th, Expressive Arts, The Ultimate Creative Guide to Transforming Stress, and this is a collaborative book. How did this project come about?
Jean Voistard was the one who published my books and was my mentor for my memoirs, I've Got Class and You've Got Class, and she helped me turn that into a workbook. Anyway, she had been collaborating with other authors before and then invited me to be in this project. Wonderful. And so I met so many other people. There was one lady, Kathy Harmon Luber, who lives in Idlewild, California, who was bedridden for about 5 years and got into sound therapy. I listened to all other people who had their own methods of coping. And it was, I thought, I have to be a part of this. I have to. And then, because journaling really helps people. Yeah. And so we all got together and did our Zooms and shared and criticized each other's work, and it was fantastic.
Oh, that's wonderful. You were able to all work together.
And she's,
on it.
I guess, with the people that brought everything together, have had like over 50 bestsellers. It's been wonderful. So I feel so privileged to be a part of this group.
Let's go back.
Okay. Oh, I love going back. Let's shift gears.
Let's go back to 6-year-old Terri.
Oh, boy.
What were you like? Were you pestering your parents with essays and making your own newspaper?
6-year-old Terry was a force, I'm telling you. I was supposed to be put into the 3rd grade, but there was something about my psyche that did not match. This is why I have such an affinity with working with kids with special needs, that I was way up there with intelligence and way down here with emotional security, or I guess they call it now emotional intelligence. Very immature. I could read so quickly that I wanted to speak as fast as I could read, so I ended up having a stuttering problem. I became so self-conscious and hardly talked to anybody and just buried myself in books. That's all I did. It was just read and read and read.
So you also talked about you were a teacher. What's your best teaching moment that you remember?
My best teaching moment was when after I retired, I began as an independent study. And what happened was I would work with people that didn't go to school. They needed their credits, so they would do their work at home. I had one lady that came in and was going through just all kinds of things with her husband, all kinds of personal problems. And I was able to sit there, and she was crying because she couldn't do her work. And I remember putting the Kleenex box out to her and hugging her and saying, "Don't worry about anything with the school. Let's get you done first." And how she came about and graduated with honors. And it just to see her walk with her cap and gown, making a speech about me, which I didn't require. I always like being in the background with those things. But just when you can reach somebody, that when they believe they can't do something and you see the light that goes on in their eyes, that they can do something.
Yeah, you found their spark. Did you have a favorite student,
Yes.
or is that the favorite student?
No, there's one starting out to be my worst problem. Teaching 6th grade, and she came in all dressed in black lipstick, just F this and F that, and got kicked out, of course. And I had to go over to her place to teach her. And I'd sit down at the table, ready to work. She was living with her grandmother. F you. I'd say, okay, I'm leaving. And then I'd come back the next day and the next day, and I developed a system with numbers from 1 to 10. 1 is F you. 10, she'd never reach that. It was an ecstatic day. 5 was so-so. So I'd have her point to a number. If it was a 4 or 5, I would stay and work with her. And finally, after so long, I worked with her from the time she was 12 years old, and I've still got her. No, but really, I got her to graduate. Only she got pregnant when she was 13. But she'd been sold as a baby, and her life was horrendous. But to make that turnaround, just having patience, just showing up. And she became my most beloved student.
Oh, that's beautiful,
That's
Terri.
a really beautiful story.
A persistence.
Oh.
That was it.
This is a very good story that you're helping Jean over at the Women's History and Culture Center now.
Oh, yes.
So talk a second about, so we got the rock, and Jean is paying for the plaque that she's always wanted to put over there. You want to talk about that lady? I forget her name, and I feel horrible.
And Henrietta Martin. This is what I'm saying about there are so many women out there. When I look at the sacrifices that they have made, I watched, I don't know why I can't get a hold of it anymore. It was called A Century of Women. It went through all these women with their sacrifices and the marches that they made, and like Anne going to prison for beliefs. And when I was trying to teach my students in sociology about the civil rights movement, these women taking their children out to the parks where these dogs would be coming up and biting them, and sitting on the stools in the cafeteria, being taken off the stools, thrown into the paddy wagons. The sacrifices, I keep using that word because that's exactly what it was. And I keep asking young people, what would you do in a certain situation? Because I'm trying to take this bravery, and somehow, as a matter of fact, I was just talking to Jean about this morning. I'm on this mission to wake up the young people out of a coma and realizing we need to know the history of all these brave women. So what is your role today? What are you going to do to make a difference? And it's like we need to be lighting a fire. So I would guess my woman is all women, Steve.
Okay.
All the women of our past who have made us who we are today.
And just to comment with this, and I know it's hard to get the younger kids involved because they have,
Yes.
I mean, here, anywhere.
Yes.
Okay, but all of our organizations here are, and pardon me, Sandy, you're so young, but all of our organizations are so old, and we've got to get the younger people involved. Okay, and I'd love to see that with the Women's History and Culture Center because it'll go away if not. There needs to be. I don't have any idea how to do it, but I'm sure you guys will work on that.
When I was teaching middle school, I had an organization called Girl Power. And I would take all these girls, and I bought them all binders. These are girls at grade 6, 7, and 8. And they would do resumes, and they would go up and ask letters of recommendation from their teachers, asking, why did I get an A? Give me the criteria. Why did I get this grade? What does very good mean? This type of thing. Getting them prepared and help them create career fairs and opening their eyes up to different opportunities. And if I could, it would be wonderful to be able to go into the schools to have a class on etiquette and girl power and preparation, and not just for university. Please, I love what Virgin Valley has done with their scholarships for people who weren't going to university. It's just getting them ready for society and getting them to believe that they're a part of this community, that they have a responsibility to it. I don't know how well it would work out, but I'm willing to try, Steve. You're right. I've been worried about this, and who's going to replace us? Jean will be retiring soon, and who's going to take up the slack? You're right.
Well, and it's across all organizations here.
Oh, it is. The AAUW is facing the same thing, trying to find membership.
You talked earlier about automatic writing.
Yes.
Putting random thoughts on the paper and let my subconscious take
Yes.
over. You want to talk about that?
Oh, one of my most favorite things now, and I'm going to be using it in my free sessions to help people start journaling. Because I know how hard it is to face, you have your blank piece of paper and a pen, or your computer, and where do I start? And all the movies have been made about that, right? Where the man sits at the typewriter or computer and cannot get that first, it was a dark and stormy night, how to get those first words out there. I have found that when the pen touches the paper, and the key is don't let your hand pick up the pen from the paper. You have to keep on going. You can start off with, this is crazy, this is stupid, I'll never think of anything. Why did I even start this? Oh, I had such a rough night's sleep last night. And your thoughts just start going, and then all of a sudden it's if the pen has got a mind of its own, and I start underlining words or circling them for emphasis, but I start getting my innermost thoughts out there. And this is why when they say about taking cursive writing out of the schools, it should never have been done, because the cursive writing works in conjunction with the brain. And when you're doing your automatic writing, you certainly have a connection between the cognitive and the written word. And it is so therapeutic.
Sure, it's the flow of the cursive,
Yes.
because it never stops flowing, whereas printing is so staccato, and it takes you out of the...
I love working with you. You complete my thoughts flowing. Yes, thank you.
It's easy for you to say because you have such beautiful cursive writing.
Thank you.
Yeah, that automatic writing. And it gives the person the confidence to write. And it goes back to what Sandi and I were talking about earlier, that everybody has a story to tell.
Absolutely.
Everybody
And they're all
does.
valuable.
Yes.
They may not be your genre or your choice or the thing you would normally read, but you will learn something from reading everything you read. My dad always said, you can learn something from every book you read, whether it's a history textbook or a romance novel. You're going to find something in there that you didn't know. whether it's an idea or a historical fact or something, you will learn from it and you'll take that with you and be stronger for it.
Well, this is what I call the golden nuggets. In every movie,
Yes.
in every book, there's a golden nugget. I don't care how inane it is.
Yeah.
You can pull that out and it'll be there.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I used to teach sociology through movies, and I would have the students pick out the golden nuggets that, pertain to whatever subject that we were on. Yeah, it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
You also brought up a point that one of my very favorite writing teachers on the very first day of class said, do not ever sit and stare at a blank page. Do not ever do that, because your mind will focus on that blank page and it won't. Whereas if you go off and do something that's, inherently mindless, but that you have to do anyway, like doing the dishes or, folding the laundry or whatever, your mind is still working. And
Yes.
the idea will come to you, the solution to the problem you're working on, or the idea for the story or the poem, the first line, something will occur when you're physically engaged but not actively engaged. And that's the best way to start if you find yourself blocked.
I remember
Go
I
do
said when the
something.
dust settles, when you're not paying attention to this, the answer is there.
Yeah. I'd sat up in the middle of a TV show that I was not, that I was watching and going, oh, I have to go write this down. And my partner obligingly pauses it for me and I lets me go scribble it down and then I come back and we carry on. But yeah, it's always those moments where you find your inspiration.
The aha
Yes.
moments. Yes.
Oh, I like that you stop everything and go write it down.
Oh, I do.
You have
You have to. Otherwise, I'll lose
I've
it.
got
Yeah.
no cards beside me.
Yeah.
And I've got to do it. I got to put it on pause and then go back and go, oh, I like the way that was said.
Yeah.
Yes.
I always carry a notebook and a pen with me everywhere I go. It's in my purse, so that if something occurs to me, I can write it down right there in the moment.
Yes.
And then go back to it later. And
Yeah.
So what happens if you and Max are watching a TV show and you get a thought and you get him to pause it and then you get done, you come back and you sit down and he unpauses it and 1 minute later you get another thought. Do
fortunately,
you say pause it again?
if it happens, yeah. And he's, like I say, he's very understanding.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
and he's a musician, so he understands that you gotta do it when it occurs to you.
Okay.
You gotta immortalize that moment before
Yeah.
it's lost. Because especially if you're doing something like watching TV, if you don't stop and write it down, you're going to get back into the TV show that you were watching, and your brain's going to get into that relaxed state that it enters when you're watching television, and it's going to just fly away. And when you might not be able to recreate it later. There's been times when I haven't stopped to write something down, and I could never recreate the phrasing that I had the first time I thought of it.
Yes.
And like I've got all of Wayne Dyer's books. And Wayne Dyer? Mm-hmm. Okay, I would go through his books. It would take me forever because Wayne Dyer always quotes other people. And I thought, oh, I've got to get this book, or I get the quote from that book. And then there's one which I got from him was row, row, row your boat. I can't get that out of my head now. I've got it everywhere. I go around. I've been talking about it for days now. It was, his daughter jumped on him in the pool and said, Daddy, sing my favorite song. And he was wondering why row, row, row your boat is relevant through every generation. So he said, row, row, row your boat. Well, whose boat do you row in life? You row your own boat. Not your father's, not your mother's, not your husband's. Okay. How do you roll it merrily? Okay. How do you roll it gently? Where do you roll it downstream? You never roll it upstream. And why merrily? Because life is but a dream. So I thought, yeah, that says to us about life. So when somebody's having a crisis, I just start singing that song. But it was from that book, and I just keep all the little golden nuggets, and from movies, everything.
Good day, Terry, Sandi, Steve, and all our loyal listeners. This is your favorite research assistant from Down Under, Addie, breaking in for a quick Wayne Dyer wisdom drop. Wayne Dyer was more than a writer, he was a philosopher of the spirit, a guide for the modern soul. Often called the father of motivation, he began as a psychologist but quickly moved beyond textbooks, choosing instead to speak straight to the heart. His breakout book Your Erroneous Zones urged readers to break free from self-imposed limits, while later works like The Power of Intention delved into the spiritual realm, inviting us to align with purpose. Dyer famously said, "We are not human beings having a spiritual experience, we are spiritual beings having a human experience." Through his books, his talks, and those unforgettable PBS specials, Dyer taught us to release the ego, embrace authenticity, and trust the flow of the universe. His legacy: a quiet, worldwide revolution of kindness and clarity. I must say, I'm loving this chat. What a wonderful addition Terri is to Mesquite. And Sandi. Wow. So sharp, so well read, you're the literary anchor we needed. And Steve, well, you continue to bring the gooey center that keeps it all heartfelt, and of course you sign my paycheck. Addie, over and out.
There's a lot of life truths that have been passed on that way, whether in stories like the myths and things like that, life lessons, or in songs. I mean, Row, Row, Row Your Boat's a great example. I'd never thought of it in those terms before. But Ring Around the Rosie told children how to, warned them against the Black Plague. It was showed you what the warning said. Ring around the rosy was the red spot that you got on your skin when with the ring around it that showed you had contracted it. And so, there's you didn't know that?
I learned something.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of those little, especially nursery rhymes and children's nonsense songs and things that aren't actually nonsense. They were actually life lessons. We've either aged out of them or not dealing with those things anymore, and we've lost the true meaning of them. And it's a fascinaning subject.
And I learned
you should write a book on that.
My best friend's book, I found out that the treadmill was invented to torture prisoners. They would keep their prisoners on the treadmills all the time.
Well, it's still kind of a torture device, so that follows.
Yeah. Just all these different trivia things. In my other book, Redemption for Gertrude, I always wanted to figure out about Hitler. I was fascinated by him that we never could hear anything about him except hearing him speak. Okay, he'd be up on stage, and it was all psychological. He was trained to keep his audience waiting for a long time and then speaking very softly, get everybody's attention, and then build up and build up. But you never heard him in general conversation. So there was only one conversation I could find where he was recorded on a train. They used a non-moving train to have a meeting, and you could actually hear him speak and how he was afraid of horses, and he would go to parties and he would mimic people. He was really great at imitating people, and I found out all these trivia things that I put into the book. And he invented all these different things while he was in prison in 1924. It was fascinating.
He actually wrote his first book in prison. So
yes.
Those are always interesting. People like Dostoevsky and Hitler that wrote books, and Oscar Wilde, who wrote books while they were in prison, to see how it compares to, if they have a larger body of work, to the rest of their work, and how it informs their experiences going forward. It's very fascinating.
Yeah.
Do dreams play a part in your creativity?
No. Actual dreams when you're sleeping or dreams that... It's interesting that you should ask that, because I've been having really weird dreams lately, but didn't really pay too much attention to them. So
I've written entire scenes based on dreams that I've had. So
I think we've talked about that.
Yeah, and I've actually been having a lot of really weird dreams too, and so is Max. And I honestly think it's the heat. I think that the heat is
no, it's right now the world is spinning faster. And there's something to do, I guess, with the length of days. They're supposed to be really short yesterday and today. And there's a lot of changes going around with the magnetism in the Earth. I do a lot with studying the quantum physics.
Isn't Mercury in retrograde right now? Or is that's right now, isn't it?
So it's a really strange time that people are having different lucid dreams. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think the heat is helping, though.
Tell us about your childhood library.
Oh, my gosh. I'm trying to figure out if I was in 4th grade or 5th grade. I always was lying in bed. I was that proverbial child with the comforter over top of her head and the flashlight. Hello, don't let me go to bed or get myself into trouble. Send me to my room. My books were Gone with the Wind.
Oh, I love that book.
Yeah, I know.
I love
going through, except when I got older, I became very disillusioned. All that became possible on the weight of all the black people. And Ashley Wilkes standing there going, well, I can't do anything. I was trained to be a gentleman. That justifies
I can see that.
everything. Yeah. Anyway, always interested in history. Then I would act it out. I had such a vivid imagination. One day I'd be Scarlett. The next day I'd be Melanie. And then I'd be writing. all these different stories about, way before The Fugitive, about a one-armed man that was running around and breaking into houses. How he could do it, I had no idea. But always, constantly writing and writing. That was it. And then, of course, up in Canada, what was it? Anne of Green Gables was one. It was. I read all of those. I guess always about rebellious children, come to think about it. Yeah.
Most good books from our childhood were about rebellious children.
Yeah,
you know?
see? Yeah.
You know, you think about the Darlings and Peter Pan, they were kind of rebellious children too, you know, in their own way. So just they all start with that. So
Did you see the play here? Did you see the play, Anne of Green Gables? Had you moved
yes.
here?
it was wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
We interviewed the lead.
Oh, wow.
It was
She
her
was
first.
darling.
It was her first lead.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And isn't it interesting how you can read a book when you're young and take one thing away from it and then read it 10, 20, 30 years later and take something completely different from it. And then that's one of the things I love about literature is that it can form you at different stages of your life. It can mean different things to you. I'm making a concerted effort right now to go back and read things I read in high school or in college that maybe I didn't, either that I really liked or that I really didn't like, and trying to give them another chance. And my very favorite story, I'll share this with you really quick. My very favorite story was going into one of my English classes at UNLV. It was on the great novels. And one of the great novels we had to read was Wuthering Heights. And I'd actually never read it at that point. And I just remember the lady sitting across from me, I wish I could remember her name, saying, "Oh, I'm so looking forward to reading this book again. I loved this book when I was 18." And she was probably in her 40s. And we came back the next week, and I looked at her and I said, "Well, what did you think of it this time?" And she's like, "Why did I like this book?" And I was like, "Thank you. Okay, I hated this book." You know, it was such a terrible, everybody's angry and nobody's talking to each other. And it frustrated me when I read it. And it's things like that I find really interesting about the way literature can affect you.
And then the one that stands the test of time, the movie, to this day, even though it was years old, Tyrone Power, Cliff Webb, Gene Tierney, The Razor's Edge. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's Tyrone Power comes back from the First World War, completely disillusioned, and of course Clifton Webb is at his best. The biggest snob around, the elite, won't talk to anybody who's beneath him. Gene Tierney's in love with Tyrone Power, and he's trying to find the meaning of life. And it's a very spiritual book where he does not try to fit in with the rich people, and Gene Tierney's trying to get him to fit in. How he travels all over the world looking for the meaning of life, going to Tibet and all these different places, and how he finds peace. And the people just hate him because he's so peaceful. He doesn't have anything. And he helps out everybody. And it's such a wonderful book. And Clifton Webb at the end, he's dying. And he's so upset because this woman doesn't invite him to the biggest party of the year. So Tyrone Power breaks into the lady's house and gets an invitation, steals it, and gives it to Clifton Webb. And he's lying in his silk pajamas going, "Tell her I cannot accept. I have an appointment with the higher power," or whatever, and dies. But just the total snobbery of the ages. But it holds true today about spirituality, the meaning of life. And of course, I love The Fountainhead. So.
Yeah, big fan of Atlas Shrugged. That was a great.
Of course,
great
you
book.
and I would just I could talk to you for ages.
Well, I think you guys are now in the same writers group, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, yes, we are. Oh, and you're going to love being with Craig Stevenson. Oh, my gosh.
Before I forget, thank you for your donation to the STEAM Center.
Oh, of course. Yes, thank you. It's so important. Again, this community, I want to go visit the museum here because I'm going to be trying to work to get that together with the Women's Center.
Have you met Mary over there?
No, I'm going to go over there.
Mary's very nice.
Yeah, I'm going to go over there to invite her to the unveiling. We all work together, which I just love. I just love this community. I'm so glad I moved here.
We just had this conversation with Cynthia the other day about how so many artistic and intelligent and creative people come to this area, and many of them, like myself, are surprised by what you find when you get here. Everyone's very supportive, and there's just so many opportunities to enrich yourself and to expand your art here. It's really been lovely.
Well, look at me. I've only been here for almost 7 months now and just immersed myself into everything here. And people ask me from California, "How do you like it?" And I said, I'm in the vortex. Everything here is just wonderful.
And I think Cynthia's just coming up on a year. I think she moved here in July
I'm
last year.
coming up on 5 now for me.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
God, we've been here a long time.
Yeah.
9 years.
Well, but truly, I only got really into the community last fall. 2 things happened last fall. One was I joined the bowling league and met a lot of really, really wonderful people. And the other was that I published my 3rd novel, and Steve got in touch. And I posted it on Nextdoor, and Steve got in touch with me and said, "Would you like to do the podcast?" And since then, I've just been immersed, and it's been wonderful. So
Now you got a name tag and
I have a
your own
name
card.
tag. I have my own business cards today, so I'm very excited.
Well, yeah, just
I'm official.
working with the senior games and meeting, there's a 92-year-old bowler, and I'm there, "Stand up, young man." He went, "Excuse me?" I said, "Stand up. I need to take your picture. I want your cover on a magazine." So,
Oh, you know what else is coming up too? Mud volleyball.
yes.
I heard about that. Yeah.
September.
Oh, that's going to be so much fun. Yeah. And then the senior games will be starting up again, not as big as they were before. Just so many great people
Oh,
here.
there really are.
All right.
Okay, here it is.
Grand finale.
Here's the question. Okay, we're going to go back to best friends for this one. Mm-hmm. And I believe your main character names are Fanny and Julia. Mm-hmm. If they were to make a movie out of best friends, and you have an interesting opportunity here because you can have the older characters versus the younger characters. You've got different. Who would you cast as Fanny and Julia?
Oh, geez.
You can pick anybody.
Yeah. Oh. Why is it your mind almost just goes totally blank again with that? I'm telling you, just because I'm not in touch with hardly any of the younger actresses now.
Yeah,
Just
I have the same problem. All the actors that I would cast in my movie would be, from the 80s or something, and they're way too old for the characters now.
Yeah.
But so there's no limit on if you could pick anybody at all, any time period.
Oh, almost with going back to my lady on the East Coast, almost like a Judy Garland type who'd be totally rebellious, ahead of her times, wearing pants when she wasn't supposed to.
Very outspoken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thinking almost like a Lana Turner type, but with a little bit more character. Lana Turner being brought up to be a lady and everything. So, yeah.
That would be a great movie.
Yeah.
Well, Terry, Sandy, I guess we're done.
Terry, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. This has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, and it's great. We're going to see you around all the time.
Yes.
Oh, you bet. I'm not going anywhere. My
Well,
face
welcome
will
to
be
Mesquite, and
Yes.
we're glad to have you here.
glad to be here for sure. So,
Okay, thank you.
okay.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, merrily, merrily.
Broadcasting from the Mesquite Works Steam Center in the scenic Mojave Desert, the Art Box sponsors thank you for listening. You can find us on Spotify, Samsung, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, and Amazon Music. Please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We are on Facebook and Instagram as The Art Box. We welcome all comments. You can email us at artboxvv@gmail.com. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of its hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of our sponsors.